Hello and welcome to the review of the Tata Harrier. In today's video, we'll take the Harrier off-road and try its various off-road modes. We'll also take the Harrier to different types of road: a broken village road, a 4-lane highway, and the best type of road, a single lane mountain road. We'll also compare it to some of its competitors and review how does the Harrier compare on the inside to them. So let's get started. We are going to take this steep climb from here. This climb, I feel, is the limit of the capabilities that a front wheel drive platform like Harrier has. The best way here is to put the car in first and ensure that you do not get into the turbo lag zone. Keep the turbo spinning. This was the point where an Endeavour had gotten stuck last night. It was a 4x2 and the older generation, and that was because he slowed down on the slope. This is the relatively easy bit with the cemented road. Now here is where the tricky bit starts. Should try not to accelerate too much because it damages the car. And though the Harrier has really nice chunky tires, the rocks are too big. You can probably hear the wheels spinning. The Harrier's struggling a little bit for grip. This is the toughest bit. Now the easy bit, last. The Harrier does these stretches well, but today it was relatively easier. But yesterday when it had rained, the Harrier was struggling a lot, and even with the wet mode and all, it didn't work really well. The best thing is to turn the ESP off and just put it in first, right amount of throttle, and the car figures it out. I think that is better than any of the modes that are available in the Harrier. You know, where the Harrier really struggles, especially with a big engine and a turbo lag, is when, let's say, if this was a steeper incline like this, right, and you want to start from here, right, with a low ratio gearbox you can do it very easily. Without a low ratio gearbox, you have to apply the handbrake or rely on the hill hold of the Harrier, slip the clutch a little bit, and it goes through. This is okay here, but in steeper inclines this becomes an issue. And let me try the wet mode.
Wet mode activated.
Right, let's see if it does something. Now I'm using
Rough road mode activated.
rough road mode. Let's see if it's able to do something. Nothing. See, that's the limit of. Let me try with the ESP off
City drive mode activated.
and power and sports. See, without ESP this moves the furthest, right? By the way, I realized that the sport mode did not turn on, which is why you didn't hear the sound mentioning it, because Harrier only turns off ESP in the city mode, not the sport mode. This is the place where the Harrier was getting stuck. Lot of rubber burned on this stone. Now I've taken it down this path earlier. Yesterday could take it. Now I'd like to mention that I deliberately chose a difficult line just to show the different drive modes in action. I took a different line earlier and the Harrier was able to climb it. This was just for the demonstration only. Okay, so I'm going to try the hill descent control option in the Harrier. It limits the speed to 8 kilometers an hour. Let's try it out. HDC activated. The speed that I see right now is 10. I hope it brakes. Okay, so it's restricting the speed to 10 kilometers an hour. I think it's a gimmick, to be honest. Unless this is a steep slope, but you could have done it in first gear itself. You don't need hill descent for this one. So anyone who's thinking of buying the Harrier with these special modes, thinking that it'll do off-road really well, it's expecting too much from the car. It'll get stuck in the simplest of situations, so please don't put too much hope on it. Now, driving the Harrier, this is the third time that I have rented the Harrier for one of my trips, and there are two reasons for that. One is I can't afford a new Harrier. I can afford a used one, but Tata's service and quality, reliability of the service, not the vehicle, is low, and they produce vehicles with a lot of defects. So I'll have to stretch my budget to buy a used car, and then if I start facing issues, I don't think I'll be able to upkeep a vehicle like this with a lot of niggles. So that is one reason. The other larger reason is that Harrier is not a city animal, to be honest. The Harrier is supposed to be enjoyed in situations like these. I love driving the manual, and the manual comes with a very heavy clutch, and the width of the vehicle is also so much you can't enjoy it properly in a city. So if I'm only supposed to take it to long drives, I prefer renting it rather than paying so much for the vehicle. But there is also another reason why I have rented it 3 times already. It's because I really love the Harrier. When I started off, the first time that I drove the Harrier, I didn't have a lot of expectations, and I had driven the Compass, I have driven the older Creta, and not the new generation. I've driven the new Seltos, but I think the Harrier is a very different machine compared to the Creta and the Seltoses. It's a level above them for sure. It feels like a much bigger machine, much more luxurious, I would say, in terms of space. Maybe not in terms of features, but then between this feeling of a big car and a lot of features, I would choose this for sure. Yes, the width is an issue in situations like these, but the great ride quality that the Harrier has, I'm not sure if the camera is able to capture it. The roads in this part are really bad. So, and you can probably hear the rattle from my bag that is kept on the left. That can probably tell you what's the situation of this road. The Harrier it feels like it's built to take a typical Indian road. While coming here, there was a point where the road almost ended, and in front of me there was an Ertiga, and the Ertiga scraped the rear overhang completely. Like its bumper came off, the Harrier with 5 people and a full boot. I'll show you an image of the boot. With a full boot and 5 people, it didn't touch at all. So I think it's been tuned really well. It rides amazingly and it feels substantial while driving. It feels that you're piloting something, right? It's not driving, it's piloting a vehicle that's this huge. And I really enjoy this feeling, especially coming from the vehicles that I own, which are much smaller. Driving this is a very special experience for me. The Harrier also feels much more solid than these traditional compact SUVs. It feels that it can handle the abuse, so it doesn't feel like you are damaging the vehicle when you're driving it on roads like these. It feels apt, it feels very solid, and it feels like it's something that it's meant to do. By the way, this Harrier has done 45,000 kilometers, and this would have been driven by at least 100 people till now, and still feels very solid. It doesn't feel like abused. It still feels special, and if you can live through that, I think it's a good enough vehicle for me to perhaps consider buying it. Maybe a few years down the line when it's become a little bit cheaper than what it is right now. If this came with a 4-wheel drive, it would have been the perfect vehicle. I would have spent that money even with the risk associated with Tata. It would have been 100% yes from me. Now this is where the real test of the Harrier is. The compact SUVs handle much better, and to be honest, while coming here when we had 5 people on board, the Harrier felt very heavy, very hard to handle, and it was like direction changes were relatively much more difficult compared to a compact SUV. But now that I'm alone in the car, it feels much more nimble on its feet. It feels much more, I can move the car around. But I have to say that it doesn't feel like the Compass for sure. The Compass, it's almost car-like. The Compass is better than some cars, I would say that. The Harrier, it's not at that level for sure. But where the Harrier claws back its advantage is the ride quality. Now, I've seen a lot of testers talk about this vehicle has a European ride quality, which means it gets better at higher speeds. But you don't like take your own vehicle and drive it hard over potholes, right? If you see something, a bump or a bad road, you'll slow down, right? And at slow speeds, these vehicles with European ride quality, they don't ride very well, and Harrier does that. It's able to maintain its poise at high speeds, but when you slow down or even if you drive faster over these, I think the ride overall of the Harrier is better than the Compass. And it might sound a little bit strange to you, but as a package for ride and handling, I would pick the Harrier over the Compass. By the way, sport mode makes a huge difference in the Harrier. Huge difference. Without the sport mode, the Harrier is okay, but it feels like it's too much weight for the power it has. But as soon as you turn on sport, you can feel a huge difference. That noise is very annoying though.
Economy drive mode activated. Sport drive mode activated.
So whenever you turn this on and there are people sitting in the car, like they go, wow, what a show off. But it's a must for you to enjoy a drive on roads like these. Now when it comes to ride and handling of the Harrier, it's, I guess, at a really good balance. You can take the car off the road and doesn't feel anything, right? It's instead, if I had done this in the XUV review earlier, and you can feel the pitter-patter because it's a small compact SUV and it rides really well, the XUV, but the Harrier is at a different level. and with the sport mode there is so much power, you can really enjoy yourselves. The body control is decent, but the steering is not the most precise, so that spoils the fun a little bit. But overall I would take the ride and handling balance of the Harrier over its competitors any day. For a city use case, definitely a Seltos or a Creta makes way more sense, because this has really heavy clutch and it's very wide, so in congested lanes this will be an issue. But you bring this out on an open road like this and it just redeems itself. I would say this, the Harrier is the perfect machine to road trip in India, unless you want to off-road also. If Tata had given this a 4x4, this would be one of the best machines ever. If you haven't tried a Harrier for a long trip, like this is not a machine that will impress you in a test drive. It's a different sort of an animal. It takes a little while to grow on you, and when it does, there is nothing that can replace it. The Compass, it does feel like a much smaller, much nimbler car, so it has its benefits. But I feel personally that, as I said, the Harrier is not meant for the city, and when you go out on the highways on road trips, you typically have people with you, and in the Harrier those people will be very, very comfortable. The seats in the Harrier are amazing. It's very comfortable. There is so much space in the back, you can lounge literally there, and with the theater seating position that Tata has, it's very enjoyable, especially on roads like these. Now I have driven the XUV 500 on these roads as well, these exact roads. The XUV 500 is also fun, but it doesn't have the poise of the Harrier. The Harrier feels very sure-footed, very stable, it holds the tarmac really well. Plus, the biggest difference is that the Harrier rides amazingly compared to the XUV 500. But the new XUV 700 might change a lot of things, or 700, I'm not sure what's the new pronunciation that Mahindra is using, but a lot of expectations from 700. By the way, one common issue that has been raised with the Harrier is the fit and finish of the parts. The parts are good, but the fit isn't great. For example, the leather at some of these places, you can feel it's not put together as well as, let's say, the Kias and the Hyundais. And to me, that is fine. It's okay. If the mechanicals are tuned perfectly, it solves a lot of issues. Another way to put it is, if you're getting good food in life, half your life is sorted, right? So that's the same for cars, I believe. If you have good mechanicals, good ride and handling package, and a car that you enjoy driving, a lot of things can be wrong and you'll still be happy. Let's talk about the interiors of the Harrier. Now this interior, you would see a lot of brown and different shades of brown here. There is this wood, the seats, similar sort of brown here, but it's a little bit different from the seats. And the vibe might be like a lot of dark colors, and you might think that it's dingy, but it's so spacious here, it's okay. Like even the darker colors, they still give a really nice vibe to this place, and it feels luxurious instead of feeling dingy. The other area that I wanted to talk about was the USB controls. Now this is a 2019 Harrier, so they are very inaccessible here, but I prefer that compared to what the 2020 model has, because it makes this space unusable, the space behind this. So this was actually a really nice spot to keep your phone and turn the navigation on in case you don't want to connect it to Apple CarPlay or something, or even like keep your phone very safely, make changes, whatever you want to do. It was a very nice spot. That space is now lost. This handbrake, this aircraft style handbrake, I don't have an issue with it. In fact, it is something unique and I like what Tata have done here. The quality of this has been called out, but it's okay, right? The other thing that I want to talk about is the digital part analog instrument cluster. I really like the setup they have and the animations they have, especially for the fuel level. So really nice setup by Tata. No issues in this screen. This screen is where all the issues are. In terms of responsiveness, it's okay when it's working. It did get stuck a couple of times, but it was easily fixed. Overall, the setup and the way this has been, the icons, the overall feel of this screen is something that's at least 4 or 5 years old. And also the Android Auto and the Apple CarPlay only come in the center half of the screen, so it takes the entire space, makes the rest of the screen useless. I really like this setup that Hyundai has, so it only takes one half of the screen and you can control other things from the other half. So this is something Tata could have done, but that's it. Like, beyond this, a very nice interior, a very good place to spend a lot of hours in. The rear seat experience in the Harrier is simply amazing. I really like what the Harrier delivers here. The compass falls back in this space. In fact, if you are a family of 2 or 3, the compass perhaps is a better vehicle overall. But the amount of space the Harrier offers in the rear, with my driving position, and this is beyond, I have pushed it further behind my driving position, I still have enough knee room to lounge here. And this floor is also slightly raised, so you get a really nice seating position. And Tata also has this theater seating, so the rear seats are a little bit higher up than the ones in the front, so you get a nice view out in the front. And this is a place you could spend hours doing road trips. Seats are super comfortable. The under support is also great. So I really like the setup that the Harrier has. One thing that Tata could have done better is the rear AC vents. Now they are mounted on the pillars, the B pillars, but they do not direct as much air as well. They could have been mounted either a little bit higher or here, the traditional spot. The other thing about the Harrier is 3 people can sit comfortably in this place. It's very comfortable for 3 people. I've tried that, and it's not something that you can say about the Compass or the Seltos or the Creta. This is a place that's designed to be comfortable for 3 people. The Harrier has a relatively large boot, and the seats also fold almost flat. In fact, the setup is so good, I tried sleeping inside the Harrier for a night. If you haven't seen that video, please click on the link above to check it out. What makes every road trip in the Harrier even more exciting is the amazing JBL sound system that the Harrier has. Great food, great music, amazing machine. I have enjoyed the trip in the Harrier completely. If you haven't tried it out, I would surely recommend you to rent the Harrier and take it for a drive. And by the way, I'm not associated with any of these rental companies, but I really respect them, because as an enthusiast, for me, getting a car on rent for a few days is a way to realize my dream of, driving as many cars as possible. That's it from my end in this video. Thanks for watching.